Greetings, you've landed at the VUC, IP Communications and VoIP community. We would like to thank Simwood.com for their support. Simwood can turn you as a developer into a telco. Our hosted PBX is from onsip.com, and you can go to getonsip.com for a URL people can click to call you. We've been privileged over the last 5 years to be using the best conference bridge on the planet. Yes, I'm talking about zipdx.com, full color, full featured, full HD conference bridge. Our website, vuc.me on the webs, hosted by bluehost.com. And our worldwide local rate dial-ins are from voxbone.com. All right, and as you may have guessed, our topic today is going to be Kamailio and Kamailio World. But before we get to that, a couple of quick announcements, as always. The first one is going to be TADHack Mini. Yes, London, 9th to the 10th of April. In London, go to, I would assume it's tadhack.com. I mean, you must know this by now, and if you don't, well, you know, we don't really want you at the VUC if you can't retain a simple URL. No, I'm just kidding. But there it is. And the next thing, very important, is the WebRTC Global Summit with our longtime friend, Tim Panton. We were just talking about how long time that is, a MooCon. And he's doing an IoT, an Internet of Things workshop, and that is the 12th. Actually, right, Tim? Give me a quick nod. It's the 12th.
Yep, it's the 12th.
Okay, it's the 12th. That's Cavendish Conference Center, which is supposed to be spelled T-R-E, and I didn't correct mine, so there you go. Anyway, our topic today is going to be Kamailio and Kamailio World, and we've got Daniel with us. But before that, I'd like to get a little context, because we know that Asterisk, which is one of the things that started all this sort of VoIP-ish stuff, was in 1999. And in fact, James Bodie, if you could take us through, if I could find my camera, that would be great.
I'm here. I'm here.
I know you're here, but I can't find myself. There I am. So James is going to take us through very quickly to introduce Daniel. So you will introduce Daniel. James, go for it.
I was expecting to go through the history.
Yes. No, you go through the history and then
SIP Express Router. Yes. Well, the first time I became aware of SIP Express Router was when I bumped into the indomitable Ed Guy in London at a VON show, and he was the first one who really spotted and made use of this rather innovative, interesting little open source project called SIP Express Router. And he coupled it with the equally interesting and extremely useful Asterisk. And as is usual with these things, the strengths of each other bit compensated for the weaknesses of the other. So one of the big problems at the time was making Asterisk scale. So you used to hit the Asterisk wall, you know, something like 50 concurrent calls or something like that. The thing would just go into meltdown. So that in order to make Asterisk scale bigger, you needed to add something in. And what Ed decided to do was to use SIP Express Router to run all the SIP registration and then load balance all of the calls across multiple Asterisk installations. So that's how I first came aware of SIP Express Router. Then, a little bit later on, when we decided to start TruePhone, we decided that we needed to make use of this powerful thing, and that meant getting on a plane and going to Bucharest, where we were picked up at the airport by two Romanian gentlemen. One was Daniel, the other one was Bogdan, and we had the most amazing journey in Bogdan's souped-up Skoda. I think it was a red Skoda with a white stripe or something, and it's driving through the streets of Bucharest at high speed to the hotel. Anyway, to cut a long story short, we ended up engaging both Daniel and Bogdan in the days of when it was OpenSUR. Since then, of course, Bogdan and Daniel have gone in slightly different directions. Daniel has headed up Kamailio, the project, and kept everything true to its original roots and open source. Bogdan took a slightly different direction and slightly more commercial, and heads up the OpenSIPs project. But essentially, they're very, very similar. We tend to use Kamailio because it does more of the things that we want to do. So anyway, that's a bit of an introduction. I've known Daniel for ages, ever since he had lots of hair, in fact, on top of his head.
And you as well.
And me too, yeah. It's clearly all that brain power kind of throbbing underneath has burnt out the hairs from underneath. But anyway, Daniel, that's your introduction. Oh, the other thing I always used to say at the CIPIC OpenSIR user group things is, whatever you do, don't take out the extended warranty and support coverage, because you don't need it, because OpenSIR never crashes. And I don't think ours ever did, actually.
Nicely said, James. And you're going to come back and we'll all talk a little bit about Kamailio World in Berlin, including Mr. Panton, who's with us. But first, Daniel. Hello, Daniel, and welcome back.
Hi, Randy. Thanks for inviting, or actually, we are all invited, but I'm glad I could join again. And yeah, it was nice digging into memories. It's been a long time. Doesn't look like, but as James said, I just have to look at my hair, and then I figure out that it's actually like 15 years, pretty much also for myself, which I joined slightly later. I have some slides, maybe, you know, I'm sure there are a lot of young real-time communication folks that are going to watch it over the time. So James gave a bit of introduction, but I would like also to give a short history and also what's the scope of the project, how it started, the role on the real-time communication platforms, and then what we have done lately, plans with the future, and what's going to happen at Kamailio World. We have team, and I know many of us don't like using telephony telecom, and actually I don't like doing telecom either. It happened that SIP ended up to be used as a main telecom protocol, but actually the roots are from the internet side, and it's how we actually evolved this field, including with James' TruePhone, which was one of the first what would be now OTT apps or so, and it turned it over the time into a real mobile operator, hybrid ones, using GSM and IP networks. Okay, so let me share this. Of course, if anyone has questions, I can answer at the end. We'll hopefully have enough time for discussion. I'm actually jumping quite quickly over some of the slides. Are just there to pinpoint typical use cases or different aspects, but I'm not going to go into technical to explain what's inside there. So for that, I am available later on IRC or Kamailio mailing list.
Okay, well, while Daniel is pulling up the slides, let me just mention that as in every VUC, it's pretty easy to contact people who you see. So we get questions sometimes on the YouTube feed saying, how do I do this, how do I do that? You just contact the people directly, and you go to, for example, in this case, kamailio.org, and you will get in touch with the team directly, including Daniel, of course. So Daniel, you've got your first slide up.
Can you see it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay?
Perfect.
Okay. So this is a diagram to make it easier to understand, because already James named a couple of projects, and actually it happens to be more or less the same architecture. Eventually some of them already merged back. So everything started at a research institute in Berlin. Fraunhofer Focus, one of the co-organizers of Kamailio World, so still associated or involved somehow in the project. And the initial name, it was indeed the SIP Express Router, or short name SCR, SER on a German version of the abbreviation, which was developed initially in-house for about 1 year and released as open source in autumn 2002. By that time was pretty much usable for like a telephony engine. Later we added, of course, more extension from the SIP side, including instant messaging, presence, and other extension coming from the ITF. Indeed, Asterix was earlier, but I'm not sure they started with SIP. They had YAX as their initial protocol, something that became eventually part of the ITF as a historical protocol, and nothing that should be considered from my knowledge. The initial goal, and still is the same, is to deal with SIP packets, not to be a telephony engine. So we don't have the concept of the call. Everything has to be dealt at SIP message layer.
Excuse me for interrupting, Daniel. Apparently we have some trouble. People are not seeing the slides. Now, I am seeing the first slide.
Oops.
So somebody, and this is probably not you. All right, now I'm seeing another slide. Can someone please confirm? You should be seeing.
Yeah, I see it now. I see it now. I wasn't seeing it a second ago.
Okay, so Daniel, continue. We don't want to interrupt you any longer than we have to. So we seem to be good now. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so also the target was large deployments in terms of number of connected devices or volume of traffic. Could it be for telephone services, or could it be for instant messaging and presence? Fast forward moving, in 2006, the IPR of the project was acquired by a US company. It was the moment where it was not clear what's going to happen with the open source project, and a fork was created with the name OpenSCR, which became like the main open source branch over a few years. And that resulted in an issue with a trademark with another company, not Tekelec, still from US. They claim that we infringed their trademark on SCR word, suggesting that OpenSCR is the open source version of their product, which was named SCR. And we ended up with renaming. It was the easiest way for an open source environment, not going on court and not losing time on fighting and challenging these claims. Kamailio, it's actually a Hawaiian word, is the verb, the equivalent of to converse. So the verb of having a conversation, somehow related, was a good fit. Not many, let's say, Google results back in 2008, and of course free of trademarks. So we went for it. It's quite a unique brand now, so easier to identify, and it is what we have now as a main project, because we somehow merged back with the SIP Express router also in 2008, but the merge back was keeping, after all, the Kamailio name. So the SIP Express router and Kamailio project, their source code was combined, and it is what we have now as Kamailio. Although Tekelec didn't focus on the open source SIP Express router as business and so on, it was still a lot of good contributions, especially on scalability, like asynchronous processing, implementation of a SCTP transport layer, and so on. So now we are almost 15 years from the first line of code, and community is growing. We have a lot of other contributions, including IMS by merge of another branch of Express router known as OpenIMS Core, and then continuing the development in our project. That OpenIMS Core is also a result of activity at Fraunhofer Focus. So this is history. Now, for those that are somehow new in this environment, Kamailio, it's a signaling server, so it doesn't handle multimedia. Together with helper application like RTP proxy or now RTP engine, it can forward RTP, or it can control the forwarding of the RTP, to be more precise. Otherwise, it's dealing with SIP signaling, which means routing the packets that initiates a call, and then authenticating it if it's a registration, doing rerouting if one of the next hops is not available, and so on. Of course, it's used in different topologies depending on the size of the deployment. Could be many nodes, some of them Kamailio, but overall in a VoIP platform or a real-time communication platform could be other components such as already enumerated Asterix or FreeSwitch, or even private vendors. So a summary: signaling server again with some classic terms like register location servers, proxy server, and then quite a lot of extension towards application layer, from rich telephony, presence, instant messaging, integration with other services that don't use necessarily SIP via APIs or embedded languages. So it's not a phone, and it's good to have this in mind, and it's not a media server, it's not a back-to-back user agent, although there are some, of course, extensions that some people could associate with a PBX or with a back-to-back user agent. The core architecture, it's not on that scope. We are more like a proxy. Some of the typical use cases, as I try to combine quickly some of my existing slides. And again, I'm not really going to cover how this is can be done in Kamailio. You'll have to join later for more questions or join our community. So a lot of deployments there are like, the telephony system or the real-time communication, if it's just instant messaging, and lately it's a lot of buzz around instant messaging, and many of the one out there are using Kamailio. So devices or application connecting to Kamailio, and Kamailio doing routing between them with, of course, the layer of security, including TLS communication, but then authentication and hosting of the user profiles. Edge signaling server, it's more like a security firewall or a bridge between external networks and internal networks. Different use cases, could be also like a load balancer. It's also something very common. Here is the load balancer itself, because this is probably, at least from my point of view, what I'm doing a lot, because there are existing systems out there. They get the volume increased to a capacity that they need to put a load balancer. Could be like transcoding, could be gateways to PSTN, and Kamailio has quite a good functions to dispatch the traffic and reroute in case of some nodes are overloaded. List goes routing, still a lot of telecom routing there, interconnects, and everyone wants to get a margin as high as possible from their interconnecting partners. SIP firewall, even the traffic is not that big to an existing PBX. If that PBX or the telephony system it's on the public network, you'll get a lot of traffic from friendly users. They are known based on these friendly scanners. So the attackers that try to penetrate and call for free or do other damages using invalid credentials or invalid accounts. So I could see a big increase on this in the past several years, and again, even small deployments on the public internet are now having so-called SIP firewall, and that's a good use case for Kamailio, given that we can handle a lot of traffic, being it good or bad. We have options to detect attacks from a same IP address or from many IP addresses, then block it directly in Kamailio or interact with IP layer firewall and block traffic at that layer. Now, we support quite a lot of transport layers, and Kamailio could be used as a gateway between IP layers, like from IPv4 to IPv6, but also from UDP to TCP to TLS. Also now a bridge between WebRTC, WebSocket, and the classic SIP phones, including bridging of the secure RTP that it's used by or it's mandated by WebRTC specs to connect with classic SIP phone. This is done, of course, together with RTP proxy, the helper application for relaying media streams, audio, video packets. At the beginning, it was James mentioning how he discovered this SIP Express router, and is still a good use case where like media servers get overloaded, including for signaling, not only for media processing. And Kamailio can offload some of those functions like authentication, taking care of user location, although registration could be more often or more rare. Is still a lot of traffic for keeping not the routers open, pinhole there to be open, that requires sending periodically in short term, half a minute, 1 minute option request or other SIP request to keep traffic between the server and client side. In terms of scalability, so besides high performances of one instance, we have different mechanisms to interconnect between Kamailio nodes, either like replication that would be maybe more into redundancy, but also like smart routing when, I don't know, a device is not locally, could contact other Kamailio nodes and discover if that target device is hosted by one of them. Other extra features, and yeah, it's open source. It's a matter of extending as needed, and we have also a quite flexible configuration file, so it doesn't mean extension imply writing C code. You can interconnect different systems from small devices, IoT, to emergency services, to gaming through WebRTC. We also implement more than the core SIP, as already mentioned. We have embedded MSRP relay, the streaming protocol for instant messaging, as specified by ITF simple group, or the XCAP, also embedded. As a matter of fact, we also have an embedded HTTP server required also in this side of the specification for instant messaging and presence. So that would be just to get the idea of where Kamailio is the people on the panel here are well aware of this, so I'm not insisting again. This is more for people watching in the future or now, but they don't have any or not big idea about the role of Kamailio. So what happened recently? We got a new logo a few months ago. There is a lot of other content out there with older logos, but now we are going to focus on this. We consider nice, simple logo of these times. And if you see some other based on SIP router or OpenSCR or SpeedExpress router documents with a different logo, it's more or less same project over the years with different names. The focus on the last years was, as usual, on typical security, performance, scalability, redundancy, as well as flexibility. There is no, I don't know, big big pressure in terms of missing features. Of course, we try to adapt to new models of scalability that appear now with more modern CPUs or you know, the cloud services. Security, of course, it's maybe even more important than it was in the past. We can scale with the cloud or more powerful hardware, but we want the communication to be private, and as we could see, it's a shift into less direct calling for audio or video and more instant messaging or event notification between people or devices, and protecting that it's quite important. So we keep up to date with the latest TLS enhancements. We added all those new strong encryption algorithms with for secrecy and better protection of the content. As we focus on scalability, we have also a layer to deal with many TLS certificates on the same instance, serving different domains or using different ports to interconnect between various networks. We try to stay at the edge of you know, innovation, more or less, from the point of view of specification from the ITF, as the roots of the projects are from a research institute. So DNSSEC was added, maybe not that recently, but this is a summary of what's new in the past few years. In the performance, it's a shift for the asynchronous processing, and actually since we merged with SpeedExpress router in 2008, we got the first version of the asynchronous engine, and we build on top of that. It went beyond SIP processing. Now everything is pretty much asynchronous if wanted, including like doing HTTP queries to external control applications, or shifting the tasks between the same Kamailio instance but different application processes using message queues. Also, the paradigm of new communication has shifted the typical processing work of Kamailio. In the past, most of the traffic was UDP. The size of the SIP packages were more or less around 1-2K. Now with WebRTC, but also with the TLS, we have to deal with more memory. So we bring in new memory managers. For those that don't know, we kind of implement from scratch a lot of basic mechanism of parallel processing and inter-process communication, and that includes our own memory manager that we can optimize for bringing out a bit more performances than using the standard one. So we got some work on this side as well. On flexibility, we have our own scripting language, which is optimized for SIP, but it's more and more demanded to integrate with external services. So we offer a large set of embedded interpreters like Lua, Python, Perl, the full suite of .NET languages via the Mono interpreter from Linux. Also some embedded Java. I haven't played, but we have community developers that contributed, so you can run all kind of scripts written in these languages, embedded in Kamailio, meaning it's faster. Everything gets initialized at the start of Kamailio and then precompile as much as possible. As we got more memory managers, now we have the option to select dynamically between them. In the past, it required to recompile. Now it's a matter of using some command line parameters. If you get some troubles with one, you can switch to another one that is more suitable for debugging. And if you look for more performances, you can use another one. Then, of course, API, REST API, HTTP, it's mainstream there. Ole and other developers were doing quite a lot of work lately on bringing more powerful client implementation inside Kamailio, including asynchronous communication with external system through this HTTP, HTTPS protocol. From config file, as people use Kamailio as a framework, it's a framework by definition. If you look from the point of view of building a platform, we added more what we call routing blocks, and with the terminology of event routes, you can control more than just routing C packets. You get events in your configuration for different situations, like TCP connection is down, which could then be used further for unregistration of devices using that connection, getting access to initiated TLS connection, so you can check attributes from the TLS certificate of the destination before sending any kind of data. For those that like this web-based API and JSON, we have kind of like predefined format for SIP routing. So it's as sending a request to an external application, returning JSON document which has information about next hops, how to route in parallel or sequentially, how to translate the headers, what network interface to be used for sending out. So pretty much what would be the result of doing in Kamailio configuration file with logic like this cause routing or load balancing. You can do everything in external systems, return on JSON, and Kamailio will do the SIP routing layer from that. Of course, many enhancements on typical use cases for WebRTC. Probably we had one of the first implementation for WebSockets, including now fragmentation of SIP over WebSockets. Also, this RTP engine is outcome of another developers from Kamailio project, SIP-wise company more specifically. So you can do this gateway between classic SIP and WebRTC endpoints only with Kamailio and RTP proxy. You don't need a full media server for that. Quite a lot of work on this IMS voice over LTE from some developers, Jason Richards, South Africa, Karsten from Germany, but also other companies such as Orange from Orange Libon service from France, and related to it some handling of SMS routing. Of course, the classic components got as well new features, load balancer with new algorithms, more on the scalability of handling more and more devices or connected applications with location partitioning, replication of records from registry, or the generic caching replication, call control and prepaid for security and attacks, a lot of working with call rating limits and call routing limits, and by that detecting and blocking the attacks. Actually, I have here IPv6 cleanup because we have support for IPv6 since 2002, even before the project was released open source, because it was developed initially as part of a European research project, and one of the topics there was IPv6. So I think now we updated all the extension that since 2005, maybe up to a few years ago, were added, and IPv6 was not on the main focus of the communications out there. Now it's more and more important to have a proper implementation. We can act as an IPv6 gateway, including for RTP, along with RTP proxy, RTP engine. The future. So we discussed this year at the beginning at a couple of events, including FOSDEM and Brussels, where every year we have a consistent group of developers, what would be next step, and it was a decision to move to 5.0 with quite a lot of consistent work. And we want to make these embedded interpreters more native, so all the routing logic would be just scripting in these languages like Lua, Perl, Python already mentioned. Still keeping our routing logic for highly optimized cases. The new version will bring the options that somehow we lack, and it's better to go for a full scripting language than rather trying to tune ours, like reloading the routing logic without Kamailio restarting. There are a lot of new tools out there that should help improving the quality of the projects for continuous integration. We already use this Travis CI from GitHub and other automatic packages building systems. The plan is to keep working on that, defining some standard procedures for the new contributions, so we add with this unit test as long as we have new features, and I expect to be quite a lot of addition towards this API-driven integration with different systems, being them IoT or big systems. It's for sure an involvement that we will have in a way or another. Now to end, I'm giving a couple of highlights about Kamailio World. It's about 1 month and maybe a few weeks till then. As usual in Berlin, same location, a nice place in the city center of Berlin. Some of the highlights will have more or less the same structure, half a day workshops in the first day, this time the May 18th, with IMS tutorial for the guys coming from mobile or telecom world. Probably some continuous integration, all this Docker or virtual machine deployment, automatic deployment, and so on. Troubleshooting at the Kamailio level, but also at the SIB level. Homer project, SIB capture could be one of the presence there. And this time we pretty much sure at this moment we'll have a visit of Fraunhofer focus test beds where they have this 5G or Fuseco test beds with a presentation of how they can be used, what they have there. Being a research institute and in Germany, you always get there, you know, top new devices and also work with new technology, some of them not even specified for the public. The conference, we try to keep it on the same kind of blending the technical content with good use cases and some business presentations from Kamailio usage point of view. As usual, we are not the only project represented there. Asterix, FreeSwitch, SAMS are there, but also different vendors from client side, Zoiper and Mira. Joachim will be there. OBHI, other phone manufacturers will have a presence. Some probably, and so on. So I think I'm done with the slides.
You did mention, Daniel, that we're going to be there as well.
Yeah, and I have a question before we get to, let's get to the event, but before we do, James, let me ask Daniel. Daniel, you can remove your share now and put yourself back on. I would like to know, before we move on to the event, what, in all these years that you've been doing this, what has been the biggest challenge to what you're doing? What technically has caused the most, what have you put the most hours in? What has been the biggest challenge to Kamailio as far as the project?
Well, the biggest maybe would be hard to name it alone. I would at least say two. One comes from open source, and actually it's maybe the one that doesn't rely on the technical side, but you know, having people from different countries with different concepts, everyone tries to put a pressure on their needs and trying to focus, trying to understand, try to mitigate. It's not that easy. So sometimes it's a lot of you know, resources spent on getting everyone pretty much happy. The other one from technical point of view, I think, is because of, you know, SIP getting too much used by telecom, where all these don't break backward compatibility matters a lot. You get new technology and so on, new concepts, but moving to them is not that easy. So you have to try to build around it, and I think we solved it nicely with this concept of having a core that is somehow useless from business perspective, not offering features, and putting everything else in the modules. So now, you know, we actually have a large team that, from my point of view, I don't do much with IMS, and I'm happy that the other people are working with it and push there a lot of modules, but on the other hand, I would not like to have the code of them running on my lightweight load balancer. So technical point of view, this is you know, preserving compatibility with previous version. It's quite demanded in this area. And there are companies with, you know, millions of subscribers, even breaking like a database schema for keeping user profiles is not going to make them happy.
Right, and that makes sense. I don't know if we should bring James or Tim into this. I also have a question on SIP and how it's evolved over the 15 years. And has there actually been any real progress in it? And because we've mentioned 3 projects among the many, and of course we're talking about Kamailio today, but there's also Asterisk and there's also FreeSwitch. And SIP itself, I mean, almost every week I wonder, how much longer it's going to be relevant. Is it going to go on forever, and so on? And who would like to talk on that, by the way?
So I will.
I knew you would.
Oh, straight in there, Tim.
Brought him in. All right.
No, but so I'm going to say something really surprising, which is that actually SIP has pretty much conquered the world. I mean, the chances are your mobile phone call is run over SIP.
Right.
Your landline at some point, either closer or further from the actual device, will go over a SIP gateway. So I mean, it's IMS's SIP with a funny hat on. It has actually, as far as telecoms is concerned, it has won. The problem is, which Daniel kind of hinted at, alluded to, is that in having won, it's made it much more difficult to do interesting things with it, because you can't, I spent a little time this afternoon watching an ITF discussion about WebRTC, I should say, and one of the topics was how long should the GTMF tones be? Because we're still stuck there. We're looking at stuff that should be 5 years in the future, new standards, and we're still tied back to how long the GTMF tone has to be to get through an audio gateway that was installed 10 years ago.
Well, they're seriously talking about GTMF with WebRTC.
They were.
Completely misses the point, doesn't it?
Have we established how we're passing T38 over WebRTC?
Don't tease me. It's bad for my health, all right? But so I mean, I think that nicely illustrates the point that Daniel's making. That the thing itself. There's nothing. Actually, I don't particularly like SIP, but I get it. It has won, but there's a price to pay for that, which is in terms of still being flexible. And I think this idea of modularizing and trying to decouple the layers is a very good architectural solution to that.
Tim, I would disagree with you. I wouldn't say that SIP has won. I think SIP is an important protocol, but Kamailio does it does virtually every kind of signaling under the sun, not just SIP. And
okay, but main focus is on SIP, and many of them are still related, like D6CAP or MSRP. If you look at that architectural application, we can eventually extend it with other protocols. But I agree with Tim, and I think the big problem was that at some point everything was tried to be done in the SIP and at the SIP layer. Now, fortunately, with web application and the APIs between them and WebRTC, probably we can let SIP to be just a session establishment protocol. What was important to be, we don't need to implement the PBX feature in SIP, because there's no need to press 1 now to select, I don't know, the secretary or whatever support department. We just need to find, to put the 2 resources together. Could be, a WebRTC salesperson with a client, or it could be some health, situation, emergency situation. And then how they go above that would be like context-specific communication. But I think because we are in a dynamic world, we need somehow to find each other. If after we find each other, we move to even whispering on the ear, it's still fine. But we need to find each other somehow. And I don't like to get everything done on top of SIP, and not on top, but at the SIP layer. That was the problem. That was the mistake that was at some point coming from the ITF, from my point of view.
Yeah, I think the point is that even though Kamailio is brilliant with SIP, it does other things as well.
Yeah, okay, that's true.
That's the point. And extending on that, I have behind my desk, in fact, until I moved my desk, I had a big A0 colored poster showing all the 3GPP building blocks in a modern mobile phone system. It's an enormous thing with gazillions of little boxes on, and it looks incredibly complicated until you look at it and you think, well, I can do all of that and all of that and all of that and all of that, all with Kamailio. So I've colored mine in, and about 40% of my very complicated 3GPP model is Kamailio. So
yeah, no, I mean, the problem is from the telecom and voice architects, because they are not familiar, or are not properly familiar with the IP infrastructure and what can be done. They like, you know, a splitting function and a function to be a brick, like a brick.
Yeah. Oh, the other problem is that the people who design this typically work for the very large equipment vendors. And what they want to do ultimately is sell lots of gear, and so they want to make it look complicated and expensive. Actually, some of these functions aren't particularly complicated at all. Not when at least not when they're implemented on Kamailio.
No, and actually many of them could be combined and run on a Kamailio inside a Raspberry Pi for a decent size of a medium telecom.
We're having this weird moment in which we all agree. I can't imagine it lasting that long, but you know, it's pretty good at the moment.
Well,
Twilight Zone.
I look forward to seeing some more demonstrations of people operating full mobile networks on Raspberry Pis again, like we saw last year.
Yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention the dangerous demo, which would be...
You did, and I was going to take you up on that.
Let's talk a little about Kamailio World coming up May 18th, as we said. So what have we got so far? What's going on? Besides, obviously, some very dangerous demos.
Extremely dangerous.
Yep, and it looks good. Will be more of the people that had a relevant impact over the time. Hopefully, everyone will be able to make it. They kind of confirm, but you know, until you don't see the face, you can't say it. So we have more invited people. It's why also the agenda now it's a bit more like not fixed, but will be in the next few days. We expect more discussions, because also the audience always actually had good quality, and we want to benefit of that and put more discussion panels. We had quite a lot of submissions, so we had to somehow reject several of them, but for the others, again, we try to put together some panels rather than allocating a dedicated slot to a single person that is from that part of you know, interest field.
Can I ask, are we going to get all the content videoed again as we did last year?
Yes, we get the same nice Pascom guys recording it. I think they did a good job last year.
They did an excellent job. It was absolutely awesome.
So yeah, we'll be again there. We will be a bit more spread. Will be the same location like exhibition and the conference room, but for other logistic like, you know, lunch and so on, we have a different place. It's still next door there, but we wanted to put a bit more space around to be a bit more
leave a bit more space for
air,
flying drones and robots and and dogs and things like that.
So we extend a bit, as we expect to be anyhow full event this time. Registrations are going quite well, and we hope to stay on this path, and we'll be full. Pretty much last year was full anyhow.
Yeah. A word about the people who turn up. Everybody that turns up at Kamailio World is kind of expert in their field, because in order to understand Kamailio and how it fits together with everything, it's not the sort of thing that you pick up in a weekend, and so you tend to get a lot of the heavy duty hardcore people there. For example, you mentioned Friendly Scanner. We had the guy who turned up last year, who was the guy who wrote Friendly Scanner, come Sip Vicious.
And now it's a speaker. So
yeah, he did a dangerous demo. In fact, the dangerous bit was everybody in the audience realizing that he was responsible for Friendly Scanner. I thought he was going to be killed.
Yeah, first year we keep it undercover. Now we got him to explain everything about the evolution of security, how he had to adapt as well, because he's a penetration tester, not a real hacker or not a bad hacker.
Yeah, and on that subject, we're going to have the guys from Homer again, aren't we? Alexander and Lorenzo.
Yeah. We have a good combination maybe between returning people, as it is, the core of the community, and we like to have them, but we have also many of new presentations. Even the old people are not coming, all of them with the same kind of topic.
Yeah, we're not interested in the old people. We're more interested in the... So who's new this time, Daniel?
Okay, so let me catch me up. I know that. Not all of them are,
on the subject of old people, Randy's going to be there. Tim.
Yes, I am the dean of the crowd, but what we need to know is also that there will be a VUC Visions. This is a tradition that we do, and we have. By the way, hold the front page because there is news. Zoiper is coming, and that means Mira will be.
The lovely Mira.
The lovely Mira will be with, and the lovely and intelligent and charming Mira will be with us. We will rope her again into the being on the panel of the VUC Visions, and that is a great panel with Tim. Tim's going to be there. James will be there. I don't know who else. We have a few people who are not coming this year. I know Dan Jenkins. I'll mention his name because he is not coming, so he's not going to be there, unfortunately. But some of the people that we had, we'll have to have some new people. I know Karsten. Is Karsten coming, James?
Yes,
of course.
Yes, because he's right there.
It's not easy to find always. Every year now it's getting even harder to find a proper time slot that everyone is available. So then you have to, we ask, but then they have to be victims. We can't do it for everyone. So we have this year, we have from Telenor Digital, Werner Eriksson. He was in charge of building an MVNO inside Telenor using open source, and they did quite interesting combination of a platform. Something probably similar to TruePhone, but done inside a big company. We have Lorenzo from Meet Echo and Janus Gateway, probably known.
Right. He was on the VUC just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and we somehow got a return from 1&1, which is one of the biggest deployments out there. 1&1.
Right.
They did cool stuff now with high availability of media streams during switchover at the platform, so not losing audio while switching between servers. Also using this new alternative to RTP proxy named RTP Engine. Sandro from Sibicius, now it's gonna present there. From the old squad, maybe James remembers, of course, like Jiri, Dorham.
Jiri, yeah. And now Tekilek is part of Oracle, isn't it?
Oracle, yes.
Yeah.
We have also a presenter, a speaker from CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research from Geneva. He will present about what they do with open source for their communication system inside the institute.
Is Matthew coming with the drones?
Yeah, Matthew from
Yes, it's gonna come this time showing SIP plugging SIP into the matrix, or the other way around.
Yeah, warning, don't sit in the front row.
Yeah, don't sit in the front row. I assume Dennis will be there because I think he's based in Berlin, right?
Yeah, he's
Yes.
cool.
So Dennis Kirsten, you really have. I mean, I love this venue because you have so many really interesting and passionate people involved in it, and that's my thing.
Yeah, this year we need to get the wire guys. Yeah, like Alan Durrich.
Alan Durrich, which was one of the first promoters of SIP Express router with a big deployment. The guys from SIPgate, another one of the pioneers for SIP.
Yeah. Old Tito Salmon's crew. Yeah.
Is he going to be there, or is that just some people from SIPgate? Because I have not met him.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll message Tilo and challenge him to turn up.
Tell him to show up. It'd be very interesting because these people. Let's face it. Well, these people are the people who were pioneers, like you, James, and like you, Daniel, in this whole thing. And it would be very interesting to have that gathering. There are fantastic dinners. Of course, as soon as you mention food, I'm there and drink. But it's such a great a moment to meet people. I have great memories every year of Kamailio World, and 2016 hopefully will be no different.
Yep.
It's I'm a huge fan of Berlin as a place to visit and things to do and see side things. And as you say, there's good beer, there's good food, there's good wine as well. Actually, if you look for it. So yeah, no, there's fun stuff to do and a really interesting tech community in Berlin. So well worth a trip. And Kamailio World is interesting as well, but it's a good environment to have it in.
And because of the timing, it's incredibly cost effective to go there.
Yeah.
It's not expensive to go to Berlin.
True. Daniel, is anybody coming? Every time I've been there, there's been somebody from Digium, including like David or Matt. Is anybody from Digium coming this year or not?
Yes. Matt will be there, David will be there, and at least one person more. But David and Matt will be for sure. I'm not sure if other will show up.
Perfect.
Interesting.
So Matt is the lead developer. He's in charge of the stuff going on at Digium. So if you're in Europe and you're in range of Berlin, for example, and these people are totally, easy to speak to. It's not like there's some big speech and then they're whisked away like the President of the United States. They're there, and you can talk to them. You can have a drink, a snack, lunch. This is what I love about the whole thing, is that I've seen this countless times where you can meet people and talk to them, and if you need to, that's access, and I think that's important.
Yes, also Near from the classic VoIP.
Near,
and
not far. Near and far. All right. Anyway, we love this thing, so we could go on and on about it. But what else? Is there anything we haven't said yet, Daniel, about Kamailio or the event? Because otherwise, we should probably terminate.
So this year we'll have also Free Switch coming. Probably will be a panel about media servers.
Yeah, both William and Kathleen are coming in.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's significant. I don't think they've been before, have they?
No, it's their first trip here, so I'm trying to. That's why I said there are quite a lot of valuable people, and I was thinking that maybe we should make like a portal if they want to get listed and appear that they are attending. Will actually show a great value for the other attendants. But this some of them will be part of a couple of more panels. As I said, the decision was to combine a group of people based on interest and have more discussion rather than dedicated slots.
Yeah.
That's good.
Perfect.
Yeah, very quick word about the dangerous demos. We've extended the prizes to not 3, but now 4 prizes. And to give everybody a chance of winning, dear old Tim there is going to be on the judging panel, so he can't win.
And the drones are not allowed. Yeah.
Well, I think they probably are.
No, okay.
Anyway,
yeah.
Let's just finish with the fact that you can go to Kamailio.org. You can find out all about this stuff. You can come and meet all of us. We're all very excited to be getting together. This is just, I know I repeat myself constantly, but this is just one of my favorite moments of the year. So
yeah, for me, it is the best in the calendar. I mean, it's even better than ClueCon. And I hope the Free Switch team are...
Oh, God. You should not have said that.
Even better than ClueCon. And ClueCon is pretty brilliant.
They've just canceled.
Brian is war dialing you right now.
Oh. All right. Enough of that. Let's move over to the mature audiences only version as soon as I can find the button to turn this off. Thanks, everybody. We really appreciate you following us. And this is going to be fantastic. It's only about 6 weeks minus a day, right? Because it starts on a Wednesday. Yeah. No, minus 2 days. So it's less than 6 weeks away. Start booking your travel. Get registered for Kamailio World and go to Kamailio.org, and we will see you on the other side of the mature audiences.